couple of things I'm going to cover today, and a couple of examples of things you can do with Zapier is, like I mentioned, connecting to these third-party systems that don't necessarily have a direct integration with Zapier or with Storeganise. So a CRM is a good example. Lots and lots of CRMs out there, and we don't necessarily integrate with all of them, but Zapier does. So, for example, transferring your leads or your tenants from Storeganise into your CRM in order to do mail campaigns, email campaigns, one-off announcements, put them on mailing list for your Christmas cards, whatever. That's something that can be done. It's pretty simple. Something that I'm sure most of you know, search rankings. Google search rankings rely quite a bit. They put a lot of weight on your business reviews. So sending out Google review requests is a pretty important step in maintaining that online profile and improving your SEO. So we'll look at a way to automate that Google review request for your new tenants. And then a few other things. Like I said, I'll have another example or two in there. But like I said, the key thing is to figure out, what are some small tasks that you can just try and eliminate in your day-to-day. Frees up some time to work on, the revenue generating portion of the business. So with that said, I did go ahead and pull up the Storeganise Academy. We have a pretty good walkthrough and explainer here on how to connect Storeganise to Zapier. Obviously, you must first have a Zapier account. And then this document kind of walks you through with plenty of good screenshots and things like that on exactly how to connect the two systems. All of these help documents are available at help.storeganise.com. But also in the back end of Storeganise, as many of you probably know, if you click on this question mark icon throughout the system, that'll take you to a corresponding help document. In my test account here, I've already connected Zapier. So you can see I have an API key generated to it, and I have my Zapier account pulled up over here. So within Zapier, I have it broken down into a folder here. You can have as many zaps as you want. How Zapier's pricing works is based on the number of triggers, basically. So you're not limited to a certain number of, let's call them workflows, but it's more built around how many times the data is syncing across different systems. So the first thing I wanted to start with was Mailchimp. Mailchimp's a CRM email client. It's pretty ubiquitous here in the US. Not sure if they're international or not, but you can, like I've said, replace Mailchimp with any CRM, any email client that Zapier supports, and achieve basically what I'm going to show you, which is how can we get a new user on Storeganise into our CRM or our email client. So what I've done is I will now click over to the Zapier dashboard, and this is the screen for creating a new Zap. When you're creating a Zap, you're going to edit the draft first. You're going to be adding in different triggers. So with most of these things in the system, or most of the examples I have today, your first trigger is going to be something that happens in Storeganise. In this case, like I said, we're wanting to transfer a new Storeganise user, and this can be a tenant or it can be an abandoned order. As you probably know, Storeganise has an abandoned order process. So if somebody doesn't complete their reservation, it still logs the user, and you still get that person's details. So we will set up our trigger, and it's going to ask us, first thing, we've connected our Storeganise app here. I have my account selected here, and it's going to ask us for the trigger event. There's lots of these events in here, and we're adding new events all the time. So generally speaking, if there's ever something you're trying to accomplish and you notice there's a trigger that's missing, we have our public roadmap, roadmap.storeganise.com. We always welcome submissions there. So things we can add, such as a missing trigger in Zapier, that might help you out. Submit that there. We'll review it. If it's something we can easily add, we're always looking to do that. But there's quite a few that are here already, and you can see some examples. An invoice is paid. A new unit, a unit is moved in, a unit is moved out of. In this case, we're working on the new user trigger. So I've selected new user trigger. You'll set up an alert email. So this will be the email that Zapier sends the message to, hey, your workflow triggered, it was successful or not successful. So typically that's going to be your email. And then you start actually setting up the to test. You're going to be pulling from the records in Storeganise. So it's going to just go ahead and pull from the system a few recent, in our case, again, new users, since that's what we're operating with. So you can see user H, this was set up, or this was pulled just today, and it'll show you this user's information. Here's an account I set up yesterday. So I'll just select that record. Then I'll press continue. I've now set up my second workflow here, which is going to be Mailchimp. So in order to do that, you just add a step, you search for your app. Again, we're dealing with Mailchimp, so that's what I selected. Delete that one. And then the same things apply. You'll connect your Mailchimp account, and then you will select the action that you're trying to trigger in Mailchimp. So again, I'm trying to transfer a user from Storeganise into Mailchimp. So what I've done is I've chosen this action for add/update subscriber. What that means is it's going to search Mailchimp for the email in that's coming from Storeganise. If it doesn't find that email, it's going to add a new subscriber. If it does find that email, it's going to update the account details with any changes. So for example, in Storeganise, if you have a user's email in Mailchimp and then that same user sets up a new account in Storeganise, the same email, but with a different phone number, it'll just update those corresponding data points. And then we set the configurations. So the first thing is going to be the audience. The audience is something you set up in Mailchimp. So here's my audience list. I've just titled this audience Storeganise since these are all Storeganise accounts. And then you start mapping out your data. So for example, subscriber email, that's pretty self-explanatory. I'll search, and this is going to show me all the available data points and that can come through from Storeganise. So there's everything from the name, the zip code, any custom fields that you have set up, active or not active, charges associated with that user, all kinds of things. Don't want to get too far into the weeds, but in this case, I'm mapping the subscriber email and Mailchimp to this email data point from Storeganise. Then we can kind of go through, I won't go through all of these, most of them are self-explanatory, but you're mapping out your name, the user's address, phone number. Like I said, it does support custom fields, so I have some custom fields set up for the city, the state, and the zip code. You can go even further than that if there's things in Mailchimp that you have set up. Map them out and Storeganise accordingly. They'll all transfer over. Once I have all of the data mapped out, I can press continue. And I do want to point out one other thing, actually. That's the double opt-in. So with most email clients or CRMs, they're going to have some rules or restrictions around how a user can be added to your subscriber list. As you have probably seen in your own use, you might get a secondary email once you sign up for something that says, please confirm your email, or please confirm that you are agreeing to receive messages or something like that. So I have that turned on here. You can, but what that means is when I trigger this app and everything starts firing and connecting, I'm going to get an email to my account that asks me to confirm my subscription. Not a big data point, but just one thing to be aware of if you're trying to test this. There might be some secondary permissions. I'll click continue. It's going to show me any, things that are getting merged, any empty fields that I left. None of these are required, so I'm just going to leave them empty. Then I'm going to test the step. And there you go. A subscriber was sent to Mailchimp about 0 seconds ago, and it's going to show me all of the information that was transferred over to Mailchimp. Now, if I go to Storeganise, look at my users, I'll see that user here. Go over to Mailchimp, and that user is here as well. So now from Mailchimp, this isn't a CRM webinar, but obviously from Mailchimp, this is where you can now start to set up your email campaigns, set up your automations over here. Maybe new subscribers are getting added to, like I said, based on whether they are a lead or a tenant, they can go to different places. And then obviously this Zap can be built on kind of ad nauseum, right? So let's say you want to add a delay. There's a delay event. You can say delay for 3 days. You can do that. And then maybe you want to add another Mailchimp task that's send a campaign, right? And then that will then send this person after 3 days a certain campaign. Welcome to my storage company. So again, this is kind of the very, very simple 1-2 steps of transferring a user. But again, once you get more comfortable with Zapier, you can really build this out. You have conditional steps in here. Yes, no. If this happens, it goes to the workflow A. If this happens, it goes to workflow B. So to show that really quickly, there is a split. And yeah. So now, once you are done setting up and testing your Zap, all you'll simply do is turn it on up here at the top, turn Zap on. That'll enable it. And then instead of testing it, every time a new user comes through your storage, facility, through your booking portal and creates an account, or, if you add a new user on the management portal here, either way, that trigger is going to go through Zapier. It's going to send it to Mailchimp automatically. You don't have to be in here clicking, test or process or anything like that. Just a matter of making sure the Zap is turned on. And then you can see like a history. So for example, it's great for troubleshooting, things like that. So you can see all of the recent successful Zaps for new users. It'll show which ones are tests, which ones are not tests. Yeah, one piece of troubleshooting. So moving on. I want to show a Google review example. And this one's, again, very quick, very simple. What I have here is a Zap that's going to send a text message, an SMS, to a new tenant. Once they book their unit, please leave us a review. So once again, I've done same steps, set up my Storeganise Zap here, which is new unit, move in, and then once the event is completed, you can test that it was successful. And then how I have this one running is I have it first sending the data into a Google Sheet. So I have that Google Sheet pulled up here, and you can see exactly what came through. You can have as many columns here as you want. I kept it very simple with just a name, a move-in date, a phone number, and email. Now, why did I set it first to a Google Sheet? Well, mostly just for the demonstration of showing what you can do with Google Documents and Google Sheets, but also this will give you a secondary log of things that are happening. And in my case, what I also wanted to show was that Zapier can format numbers. So in this case, you have a phone number field on your Storeganise customer portal. But that doesn't always, people might do what people do and type in phone numbers any way they want to type it in. So you need to standardize that in order to get it to format correctly and go to your SMS or your email client correctly. So what I've done is I've added this formatter by Zapier. So if I go in here and test, I can test this one, I think. Let's try. There we go, F. I'll continue with that. It's going to create a new spreadsheet row. I've already mapped all the data out, just like I explained in the last one. This is the data mapping on this one is kind of corresponding with the column headers. So I've mapped all that out. I'm going to press continue. It sent the data through. If I try a different job, once again, you can go through as much as you want, test as many as you want. And then what happens, though, is the number gets formatted by Zapier. That's kind of the important thing I wanted to show here. And you can control how that number formatting works. You can set it up to include a country code, not include a country code, how the number looks, appears, all of that. A lot of that will depend upon your SMS client. But the same thing works for dates and things like that. Zapier can format any kind of data point. So I've had it format the number into a correct one and then pass that to the final step, which is actually I want to retest this really quick just to show how quickly it kind of happens, right? Sends it through pretty instantly. But then I have this connected to Twilio purely because I had a Twilio account available to me. We do have a native integration with Twilio. But any other SMS system or email system that Zapier supports, you can do the same. So what I've done is I've connected my Twilio account. It's going to send it to the outputted number. So you can see that here. And then I just typed in the message I want. Hope you're enjoying your unit. Please leave us a Google review at this URL. Google does have a help document explaining how to find your review URL. You can also do a review QR code, either one. But point being, once this happens, once these steps happen, and let's say actually, just again, to kind of show, I don't want to send them a review the same day they move in. Let's say I want to delay it 2 weeks. So after 2 weeks, then this final step will trigger. Twilio will send them the review URL, and ideally, your tenant's going to log in there and send that review back. But once again, kind of plug and play any SMS or email client here, and I think you can accomplish basically the same thing. And as I said, once again, Google reviews quite important for SEO, quite helpful for your business as a whole. And then the last one I wanted to kind of demonstrate was Google Doc connection. So what I've done here as a demonstration is I've typed up a template document in Google Docs. In this hypothetical, we're using this as a lien notice. So let's say after 60 days, in order to begin the lien process, the collections process, you have to send somebody a piece of registered mail. It's quite common here in the US. So what happens is I've typed up this template. I've used placeholders, so you can see that, my site title, site address, and then some user information. Kind of add those in because those will be mapped out in the next step. And then I've set this zap up. And this Google Doc is just saved in my Google Drive. So then I've set this app up with the same thing. In this case, I have it tied to a unit marked as overdue. I'm sure most of you are familiar with the overdue setting in Storeganise. But basically, when a unit is triggered as overdue, it will send that to the next step. And once again, maybe I want to add a delay in here. So let's say our overdue age is 7 days, but our lean process begins at 30 days. So I will delay for 23 days, which brings me to 7 days and then 23, 30 days total. Then it's going to create a doc from this template. So once again, set up my connection to my Google Docs, my Google Drive. I've chosen a few different things, what you want the new document to be titled, where you want the new document to be saved at, and then you map out all of the data points. And you can see unit name, username, user address. I've also added in a date field. Click on continue. And then if I retest this step, I will go over to my Google Drive. And here's the new template. So I don't have an address on my site, so it didn't pull that through. I was pulling from this central site here. So a few of these I didn't map out in the Zap, but you get the point. It will now generate this template. I can come up, I can print this, save it as a PDF, send it to the customer. So once again, this kind of template can serve any purpose. This document can serve any purpose. But once you're ready, you publish this. It's going to trigger when somebody's overdue. It's going to then wait those 23 days, and then I'm going to have this template automatically created, ready for me to send on. So those are some quick examples of using Zapier with Storeganise. And those are my prepared examples, but I will pause there and kind of open for any questions or demo requests or anything like that. I'm going to open up the chat here. Hopefully the screen wasn't blurry for all of you. Apologize about that. To Natalia's question, yeah, no coding is needed for Zapier. That's kind of the cool thing about it. As you can see, it really is, some parts look a little technical, but it is not, you don't have to code. You don't have to know Python, Java, HTML, CSS, even whatever. It's all meant to be pretty user-friendly, intuitive. Bruce, so Storeganise, we actually are working on a native integration with QuickBooks. So that should be coming out hopefully soon. I know we've got most of it done. We're just going through some security protocol with QuickBooks before we're allowed to release it. You can come to the Zapier website. Might have to log out. Well, we'll just come back over here. So we have a native integration with QuickBooks coming soon. Not there at the moment, but for anything that Zapier integrates with, you can just go to their website. On their front page, it'll show you. So for example, Outlook, you can see here's the Outlook triggers. So it looks like create a contact is available in Outlook. So the exact workflow I showed you with Mailchimp about how to add a new contact into your email client from Storeganise works just as well with Microsoft Outlook. Richie, no, we have a direct integration with Xero. Zapier is not required for the connection between the two systems. In order to connect to Xero, you'll go through the add-ons system in your main settings. You see your add-ons here, and then you'll see Xero listed here. And then I'll also point out we have an integrations page on our website that lists several of these. So Xero is listed here. It's a direct integration. QuickBooks is coming soon. That will be a direct integration. Zapier not required for either of those systems. We have a direct integration with HubSpot and Zendesk as far as CRMs go, but for any other CRM or mail client, such as Outlook, you can use Zapier. Yeah. Other questions? Or is anybody actively using Zapier, and how are you using it? What are you connected with? What's the workflow you have set up? I'll wait until the silence is sufficiently awkward before wrapping up. But if nobody has questions, like I said, I would encourage you to go to the Zapier website. They list all of the apps they connect with. Explore apps, and you can see a full list of what's available here. Plenty are available, and like I said, Zapier can be very complex and very deep, but it can also be very simple, like the ones I showed you today, which are just 1, 2, 3 steps or so. But they can be conditional. They can have delays. They can have any number of features. Any other cool workflows? Personally, I think every now and then I'll get a question from one of our customers, and I'll get to think a little bit out of the box to try and help them. That's where the Google Doc template came from, for example. That was something I was working on with a customer of ours. But as far as what other operators are using Zapier for, I'm not sure. Actually, I would hope to hear some good information from you guys, because the possibilities can be quite broad. So I think the Google review thing is some low-hanging fruit, right? Something easy to accomplish, and that has some pretty quick and immediate benefit for your facility. I think the CRM piece, right? That's pretty quick and easy. And then that once you have them in a CRM, you have the ability to load into custom campaigns, send through different tags. I didn't touch on that because it's getting quite into the weeds, but if you have if you set it up in Zapier, you can tag a contact to whether they are an active tenant or just a lead, right? So then based on that, they can go into a different place in Mailchimp and say, well, if it's somebody that didn't complete their order, we want to send them a follow-up email campaign. If it's somebody that did complete their reservation, we want to then send them our tenant email flow. So Any other questions, comments, thoughts? If not, we can wrap it up here. This will be recorded. Like I said, personally, I'm based here in the US. So for those of you here in the US, I'm glad to continue the discussion about Zapier. I'm glad to help set things up. I enjoy it. Enjoy using Zapier. For me, it's something it's a tool I've been using outside of Storeganise for a very long time. So if there's any ideas that come up for your operations or your facility, yeah, definitely send me an email, and glad to help brainstorm and also help try and guide you through some setups. If you're outside of the US, we have, Storeganise does have a fully remote team. So our staff, our support team, and accounts teams are also in Europe and Asia. We can always get you in touch with the right person. Zapier is available in all these places. So, yeah, appreciate everybody's time.